you said, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I asked you, could you be specific, and you gave one example of Doge cutting funding for American reps in Africa regarding Ebola. I thought you were going to say something more. Yes.
You're actually, what you are doing right now is, I applaud you. I think it's great. I think it's good to always critique another individual, but what you are doing right now isn't necessarily like you're not talking about what I was referring to. So,
which is why I specifically explained what I interpreted your soccer analogy to be to politics, and you said yes. My paraphrase was correct. So, well, you know what? I just don't understand where you're going with this at all.
The idea of what I was bringing up with soccer is that it showcases where people can actually meet.
Right. Let's this remote has failed so many fucking times. I'm so surprised it works. I've lost.
Hey Jason, look at this. It's in the chat.
Epistemic, it's impossible, but I mean, you can construct modality. It's obviously possible.
Yeah, the evidential, the empirical reality.
Like it's metaphysically possible in the brain of that, but it's epistemically impossible in the brain of that. Yeah, we could do that too.
Yeah, so you agree that it's possible that you're a brain in a vat, MJ, metaphysically.
Say it again. Sorry.
Metaphysically possible. Is there a metaphysical? Even if you think it's false, is it possible? See, because
I think it's metaphysical.
No, I agree, and I think it's metaphysically. This is why it gets kind of. So I
when you say something's metaphysically impossible, you're appealing to some kind of like metaphysical theory that excludes its possibility.
Right.
I have like different metaphysical theories that are bringing the bearer on the question. So someone might think it's metaphysically possible while another.
Wait, why is a theist like, or a Christian, right? Why would they want to say that it's metaphysically impossible? Because like,
I don't think all Christians.
Don't you want to say that? Like, wouldn't theists usually say that? The brain can be given certain stimuli to make it think it's experienced something that it isn't. In such case, right, then you could just be hooked up to something.
Yeah, but you could say that God would prevent them too.
but like everyone would acknowledge that there are like dreams and hallucinations and stuff, right?
Yeah, but
God think you're in a situation that you're not.
Okay, but how does that answer my response?
Because then it was like they wouldn't think it's metaphysically impossible because like things actually happen, in which case people believe that they're experiencing things that they're not.
You're dodging. Yeah, and people make claims that they're wrong about. That was talking.
No, just to jump.
That claim itself could be wrong.
I want him to answer the question.
What question? I think like simulating dreams maybe is a little different than like concocting the required technology you need to.
Well, I also said MJ. I also said like the reason right? Because like one time when I was a kid, I had a surgery. Right? I was on painkillers, and I literally thought I was like experiencing my normal everyday life at home when I was miles away. Like I was playing with my dogs, getting ready for school and shit. Like it was completely real. But I was like in a hospital bed, hooked up to drugs.
Yeah, I wouldn't deny that.
But Andrew, is there like a real controversial question you would like to ask me? You tried to get me to.
You just agreed with me. You just said it's possible. You agreed now that it's possible to your brain to that.
Hypothetically, but not possible given the data.
What the fish?
Which is completely different.
The point is the data could be fabrications. Like you agreed to that.
Hypothetically, but not possible given the data.
That's hypothetical.
So you think it's hypothetically possible, but not possible given the data?
Yeah, because we have data that points to the
The hypothesis that you have different data, maybe.
And so if all the data is pointing to the contrary of this, you can say.
I'm saying the world as it is, MJ. I'm saying the world as it is the case that it's possible.
Do you have full access to all the data?
That's going to bring in epistemic modality again, yeah. You don't have full
We're
access.
talking about epistemic modalities and not talking about metaphysical modalities.
Well, I asked him if it's metaphysically possible.
But I was hoping that you would ask me like one of these, like
Why did you ask him about metaphysics?
like.
Well, because he said he has metaphysical commitments that rule out the possibility of being a brain of that.
But like how
Why is he bringing up metaphysics?
Well, I wanted to know what his metaphysical commitment is, and he hasn't explained that. And now he has just said,
No, but
"Well,
why is metaphysics even a conversation here? Like this is an epistemic issue.
Right, yeah, how do you know? How do you know you're not a brain event? Yeah.
Right.
Well, when it comes to epistemics, I would say that. Well, I'm not sure where I exactly want to fit on this particular plane. I think epistemic evidentiary would be where I prefer. And so, if you're looking at the evidence and there's no evidence or
Evidence is part of like epistemology.
within this,
Epistemology.
then you.
Yeah, I said that wrong because I was eating a fruit roll up and I bit my tongue on something.
And you would not want to say that it's possible given the data. But if you're saying, okay, could the data be wrong? You can, hypothetically. But when you go back to the question, is it possible given the data? There's no probability behind it.
Like even if you have the right data, though, you're infallible.
It's just so fucking stupid.
No, but any metaphysics, right? Basically your epistemology is gonna underdetermine any metaphysics. When you talk about metaphysics, you're just talking about the way the world is, right? And the question is, how do you know the world is the way that is that way, right?
We gotta tell a story.
Could your knowledge about the way the world is be wrong on this issue, James? And if it sounds like you want to say yes.
Infallible or you're not.
Given the data, no.
No, but the question is how you know the data is correct.
Well, I think that there are certain things that.
Are you certain it's correct?
You don't know that the data's correct.
Please don't obfuscate, James, please.
Jesus.
Well, no, I think I have a fundamental belief that the data is correct. I wouldn't object to it.
No, but the question is the question is not whether you believe that. The question is why you believe that.
I even question whether the data even says that. I don't even think you know what the. You're just you're just speculating. What do you
You
think?
gotta tell a story about the data that the skeptic can't appropriate.
Well, it's not really about the data, more about the justification for believing in that data.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Pipe is saying is you need epistemic certainty for it to be metaphysically impossible.
Oh, I'm not saying anything about metaphysics. I'm saying for it to be epistemically impossible in the sense that your knowledge of it is infallible, right? You need epistemic certainty. I didn't say anything about metaphysics. I'm saying metaphysics doesn't matter.
That applies to the metaphysical claim. I know what you mean.
So it applies to the issue of how you know certain metaphysical claims are true, but
That's right.
metaphysical is its own modality independent of epistemic modality.
That's right. Yeah. It's
So
the burden is how does the seeming right get you epistemic certainty?
Yeah.
Or
So
whether
when I was
he's-
reading more, and it's possible that I know I haven't read everything by Moore, but he's very clear that like, and when you're entertaining these skeptical scenarios, that you need to have, like, if they're not putting forth a claim, even though like a question with a proposition that's perceived true is an indirect claimant, even if that's the case, and they're not putting forth a, why are you considering something that just seems on the face of this? And I don't see any reason to do
Please
that.
stop saying consider. Please quit saying the words entertain and consider. Please. Okay? Those are not the words that I'm using.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not saying.
Andrew, you want to say something like consider and entertain, like have like some
He
notes
knows
that you're
this.
undecided about the truth of it,
He
right?
knows this. Not
No, I'm asking you. That's the way you're using it, right? Like
that the way he's using it, because I'm not.
that means like you're undecided about it, right? Like we can talk about things
It's
we're
like
not
I'm
about.
giving serious consideration.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying this for James too, right?
Right. So the
Like
point
we
is,
don't, everyone here has decided that
he
it's not
knows
true.
this. Not Jude. He knows this. It's just a song and dance that he's doing. It's a rhetorical
Yeah,
flourish.
none of us are considering it in that respect.
And I've asked
If
him to
no
quit
one's
saying that.
considering it, then there's no real reason.
So
Please stop
we're
saying.
talking about it
Please
because
stop
of a
saying that.
different
Please stop saying. Yeah. Please stop saying.
James is sucking me in.
Please stop saying that, and please stop saying the thing logical possibility. Stop saying that. Stop saying logical possibility. Stop saying entertain, and stop saying consider. Remove those from your. You just remove those. Do not say those anymore, please.
Well, because
This
you
is
guys
the whole
are
of it all.
you're not C-wording this, then there's really no reason to.
Wording this? What is C word?
Considering,
Consider.
Oh.
we're not cunting this.
Wow. Look,
Thank you, James.
just James.
Whoa.
James, none of us are considering this. None
You're
of us
not
are
Australian
entertaining
enough
this.
for that to.
Andrew, did you hear the nickname that they gave you? They were calling you Andrew.
Considering Andrew.
I know.
I swear he tries to deflect again.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
Have you
That's
guys-
exactly what he's doing right now.
Have you guys heard of the like Kantian metaphysics and the?
Oh my God.
Wait. No, Race can say that.
You can't distract Andrew. Andrew's got like armor
Everybody
for
you
that
can.
kind of bullshit.
Because he's more Australian than you.
That's correct.
Okay, fair enough.
Jason, that's
Fair
correct.
enough, mate.
James, you just try to.
common ancestor.
James, you're throwing up a wall of words. You're throwing up a lot of obfuscation. How do you know that it's the case that all your seemings and all the data and the scientific journals or whatever it is that you were reading, how do you know all that is not presentations from being a brain in a vat? How do you know that?
I already told you that I'm in between a foundationalism and rationalism. And given the rationalism that I'm using to
Piper, what does that mean?
around me,
Piper, what does he
do you know what foundationalism?
I'm not exactly sure,
is?
Joe.
It's like your starting point. Either you have like there's rationalists, there's foundationalists.
No, rationalism isn't a starting point.
Coherentism, would that be the proper term, Piper?
Well, if that's what you mean by rationalism, I guess. But
That's
then,
one of the horns, at least.
the thing that the three positions that are relevant. Well, so the four positions you might say that are relevant to the Agrippa trilemma is foundationalism or foundationalism, positivism, coherentism, and infinitism.
Okay, so I'm just using like the really wrong word for coherentism. And this is why, like I've often told, like, you know, Piper, I'm not the best at these philosophical subjects. I've never claimed to be the best.
That's fine.
But how does coherentism get you out of this brain in a vat problem?
Because he doesn't have any of those.
It doesn't seem coherent to consider even propositions without like any possibility. And when you look at the material world around us, when you look at these other things, you don't see any real possibility to consider these things. And the reason why I said I'm between that and foundationalism is, as a Christian, I would have went with probably pure foundationalism. You know, God is the foundation, and that God would correct any of these like underlying issues.
There's some like like issues in the way you're thinking about this. Like, first of all, like if you chose coherentism and homophysism, they're going to be equal in respect to like skeptic scenarios like this, like relevant per se. And then like, so with coherentism, if you're saying like a brain in the vat is incoherent in my coherent web of beliefs, right? Because you may have a belief like the external world is true and you're not in a brain in the vat or something like. But then the warrant that you have towards the skeptical scenario being false is as strong as your warrant in the external world being true. Like, and anything that negates the skeptical scenario, which is not going to. So it's like, because you don't have like super strong warrant for the external world, then you don't have the super strong warrant for the negation of it, which is the skeptical scenario.
Well, I think we were very obvious that there's an external world. I can touch things, I can move things, I can interact with other people who have the appearance of intelligence. Like, I don't see any reason to question the external world. But then when you start going into an external world might not exist, and you have to start building all these things into the possibility of a brain in a vat, that just doesn't seem to work from either a foundationalist view or a coherentist view. I just don't see any need to like really consider them.
The thing is, when you have this type of view, it's like you completely reject like idealism, which is like a perfectly viable form of like metaphysics or a theory of the philosophy of mind.
Well, wait, so it seems like all these skeptical theories rely implicitly on correspondence theory, but no, they don't. Well, okay, how about let me try that.
It require like a realist theory, though. I think.
That's what I was thinking about. So let's say
Questions are completely independent of metaphysics.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about metaphysics.
I think it just depends on truth is what correspondence is about. So.
Okay, but if a belief is because it works, then correspondence theory is kind of irrelevant. Like, okay, if I believe that I'm not a brain in a vat,
it's not relevant to what we're talking about.
and it works, it like stops you from being paralyzed or whatever. So then the belief is just true.
But the question just moves up to how do you know it works?
I just said like if it doesn't paralyze you, but like it gives you a reason to.
How do you know anything about any of that stuff?
The thing is, like with reliable like pragmatism,
like you're not really getting that. Like the skeptical stuff is like an iterative like request for justification, right? Like you're just gonna like anything that you posit about the world that makes it the case such that you're right. They're just gonna ask you how do you know that. And that includes like any conception of truth that you might marshal.
What if you just take it as an axiom?
That's called positivism, and I mean, it is an answer. Whether it's a good answer is a different issue.
Pragmatic is also pragmaticism, whatever you call it in English, is of that sort of a view. You just deny like correspondence and this like the skeptical.
Correspondence is irrelevant to this.
Again, like so, like it avoids the skeptical scenario, but in some some might concede, some might say like it concedes.
But correspondence theory doesn't have to do with skeptical scenarios. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, the skeptical scenarios applies to basically any theory of truth.
Skeptical scenarios are scenarios about whether there is external world or whether we.
Yeah, but like
give it correct.
The problems of
What about my
look, just look for a second, right? First of all, they're not just scenarios about that. That's external world skepticism. There's other kinds of skepticism. But the point about skepticism is how you know anything about the world, right? So if you, like just saying, oh, look, truth is utility, right? It's not correspondence. That's just a metaphysical claim. They're going to ask you how you know that too.
Hey, Piper, I do want to.
That skepticism, not like, oh, are you skeptical about morality? Are you skeptical about?
We're talking about skepticism in
finances. Like,
I do want to clarify one thing, Piper. There should be like a group of people, maybe under the care of doctors, who are using certain drugs to consider a lot of these more crazy out there theories. and I think that should be encouraged.
I mean, look, you can go back in a time machine and tell like the academics and the Baronians that like you guys are fucking stupid. Like you can say that, right? But that doesn't address the epistemological problem, which is how we know anything, right?
I'm not saying that they're stupid, by the way.
I mean, I know, but you can just say, like, you can say, like, my point is just, yes, obviously, anybody who entertained the idea, right, that they were a brain in a vat, right? Anybody who entertains that, right, is probably crazy, right? Who entertain that seriously in the sense of, like, actually believing it, right? But then there's, like, a serious philosophical question about how we know things, right, which brain in a vat scenarios are used to elucidate. And just saying that only a crazy person would believe in a brain in a vat scenario doesn't address that issue.
Well, no, I'm not saying that like a crazy person is like that. Like maybe the drug comment came off as like snarky, but no, I'm saying that like there might be like a serious argument that people should do controlled substances and ponder a lot of these deep philosophical issues at the same time to expand them. I don't think that you should stop considering brain in a vat or even other like strange hypotheticals for philosophical possibility. No, I'm not saying that at all.
Okay. I mean, to be clear, I think you probably shouldn't do drugs while you're thinking about this stuff because you should probably be clear-headed.
Well, sometimes some of the most mind-bending thoughts and things that have been contributed to like the human environment and our awe of the world have been direct respondents of being on drugs or tied to drugs. And so I'm saying in a medical environment, like for example, we wouldn't have things like the great songs by Nirvana.
Oh my God.
If he was not on drugs. We wouldn't have things like Jimi Hendrix.
That contributes to understanding reality.
Well, you can, like, I think that reality also is pondering, like, some crazy shit with your buddies in the backyard sometimes.
What does that have to do with brain in the vat?
Well,
yeah, possibility.
Well, no one's saying, like, a real possibility. Like, no one's saying you should honestly believe it, but why not? What's wrong, Michaela, with getting high and considering
that has nothing to do. Yeah, fine. But that has nothing to do with discussions that Andrew is having with you.
And what do you mean by real possibility? Oh, it's not a real possibility. It's possible, but it's not a real possibility.
Who are you asking?
I'm asking James, not you. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, are you challenging my view on controlled substances, Jason, considering strange possibilities?
No.
Okay. Then we're going to get there.
No, you
have to
you
go grab this order real quick.
Yeah, of course.
Who came up with like the quietism stuff? You know, like I forget who, but I think some of this stuff, like the skeptical scenarios,
it's kind of contested.
They aren't.
And I'm kind of quiet on who really did it.
No, it's something more like like Agrippa's trilemma. The reason why there's a Agrippa's trilemma is because we're just like, we're not like you're not like connected to rubber with the road. Stuff doesn't. There's like no applicability in the real world, so you should just like turn out or something.
Why does everyone call it Agrippa's trilemma when I first heard of it for a long time as the Munchausen's trilemma?
Well, the name Agrippa's trilemma goes back to the fact that the Pyrrhonian skeptics would appeal to the something of Agrippa, the ways of Agrippa or something like that. When people asked them, or when people were trying to establish that they could take a position on certain questions, and that was just like, basically the straightforward questions about, well, how do you know that X and blah blah blah, and like getting it into that iterative chain of asking how you know X.
Was that like prior to Munchausen's? Is that a better way of...
Well, that was ancient philosophy. I'm not sure where the Munchausen thing came from.
Strappins.
Munchausen is because Baron Munchausen, the guy who tried to pull himself up by his own bootstraps, which is what the claim. Well, which is kind of related to the dilemma, right? Like, how are you supposed to have a foundation for epistemology? Any solution seems like it's going to be pulling yourself up with your bootstraps. At least maybe the coherence theory or something, right? Will be like that. That's the idea.
Yeah, I just checked. Munchausen comes from 1968. It's about a horse a guy on a horse pulling himself out of a swamp by his own bootstraps or something. But yeah, it was basically some guy taking a grip as trout and renaming it.
Funny story. When you say that your computer is booting up, that actually is a reference to bootstrapping, which comes from the same.
That guy, yeah.
What?
But yeah, why would that be? Why would it be boot? As in, is there something about
booting?
Yeah, is there something about the initial loading of stuff that's interesting in a bootstrap sense?
Yeah, because when you're imagine an operating system that's already executing, right? It has all these fancy it has a kernel, it has file systems, everything is loaded and ready to go, right? But a program that's booting up has none of that, right? There isn't a file system, nothing is set up, right? So it somehow has to start from scratch and install all of that, right? So that boot program can't just be an ordinary program that runs on an OS. It has to do everything by itself. That's fine.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So also in Nargis's theology, right, bootstrapping is the process by which God created the universe.
Andrew's not gonna get this. He's too low tier for such a joke.
And that's fair.
I learned today that Nargis likes Patek Philippe's.
Nargis might be one of the most smartest people in this room, or in this app, in general.
What do you think about that, Harry?
The sim is strong.
I think it's pretty clear the smartest person here is Millith.
There's going to be a consensus on that.
Now, Andrew might be one of the most angry people, but he wasn't always angry.
Right. What's up, Rich?
Yo, what's up, Victoria?
Did you know that it's epistemically impossible?
I think it's epistemically impossible.
Detroit, would you help us out with
impossible and logically possible?
Detroit, would you help us out with James, trying to make sense of being in a brain in a vat, his objections to not considering it, hands therefore hands, that sort of stuff.
You heard R. Descartes' argument?
R.
Well, the Troyer may have already heard this. He thinks some different but I don't know. Maybe I should consider, the Troyer said, that he believes that there's more evidence for the flat Earth than the Exodus. So maybe I should consider Detroit's perspective. Maybe I'm not giving him a fair shake on that.
Do you think that that's some tension or something, James? And do you think that pointing that out is somehow?
Well, he pointed it out to trigger you, obviously.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if he thinks there's any kind of actual work that's doing by saying that, apart from just being, trying to incite me. Do you think that does anything?
There's no work that it's doing besides.
Yeah. So, James, how do you know that you aren't a brain in the vat, or you could be a brain in the vat? How do you?
I think we've talked about this quite a bit.
Can you answer the question?
Are you
It should sound like this. It should sound like this. I know it because.
Are you
because?
Andrew, I've already answered this to you several times.
Oh really?
It's
It's
like the definition of insanity to ask the same question over and over again and expect a different result.
Yeah, Andrew, get right.
If I answered it and you're not happy, and then I answered the same way again and you're not happy, and I answered the same way again and you're not happy, and you keep trying it, that is insanity.
That's not the definition of insanity.
Doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah, that just came from Thomas Einstein making that statement. It's not a definition of insanity.
It is, however, a definition of linsanity.
It does seem to follow.
That's a callback.
Yeah, it follows.
It doesn't
remember
like a bad team. Imagine you're playing roulette, right?
Does no one remember linsanity?
3 losses in a row.
No.
Expect a different result.
You know, too much excuse shit. No.
Yeah.
Which is both a positive and a negative.
Oh, you jerk.
Well, Andrew has found this one thing that he can mock and poke at me about, and he's going to continue to mention it over and over again because it gives him enjoyment.
I'm not mocking.
And I'm
came up with.
Andrew, you keep bringing it up whenever I'm in the room because it gives you enjoyment.
You're not going to refrain.
Maybe we should let Detroiter talk instead of muting you.
Yeah, I'm going to let Detroiter talk. Detroiter, I would like you to meet James. He says that he knows he's not going to raise that.
Who's this?
He's going to mock you.
Oh, nice to meet you,
James is tired.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, he's going to mock you if you think that it's possible that you're a brain vet.
I'm
But
not
if you ask
gonna-
me
How can you stop?
I want to clarify one thing for Detroiter. But Detroiter, since you just met James, you can see his title is James is Tired. That is actually his identity.
So he is tiredness itself.
That's right.
It's been written on both of you guys, but I'm feeling really
James is the concrete universal of tiredness.
Yeah. So, Detroiter, they want you and I to discuss bringing it back for a few moments.
Okay.
So let's start off with what we agree on. Logical ability, we agree, correct?
We agree that it's logically possible?
Yeah.
Sure.
And we agree that looking at other real-world possibilities, that it's hypothetically possible, right?
What do you mean by hypothetically possible?
What's a real world possibility?
Meaning that, if you're looking at metaphysics, hypothetically, you could come up with something that could be true. Are we there so far?
I'm still not exactly sure what you're saying, but sure.
Well, maybe restate it smarter than what I'm trying to say. And then how about you make a statement and I'll tell you if I agree.
I'm not really sure what you're trying to get at, so I don't know what to say.
Okay. So I guess the hinge of the argument is that I don't believe, given the data, that it's a real world possibility that we're a brain in a vat. And the data is, there's some papers that I've read where they're talking about from scientific communities and people who are examining this and studying it and saying that it's not possible now, and they don't believe that it's going to be possible in the future, given built into the premise of brain in a vat is that it's a world that's like ours in every conceivable way, but there's not any kind of distinguishable difference.
I've read the papers, by the way. James is right.
Yeah. Right. If all you're saying is that current and any future technology, given sort of what we know about technology and physics and so on, wouldn't be enough to achieve that, have a brain of that, but where have the same sort of experiences as us. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is probably wrong in two ways. So one, I don't find it very plausible that could never be achieved. But two, okay, even if it couldn't be achieved, given sort of what we know about physics and or technology and so on, so what? That could be an artifact of what the brain in the vat experience is like. And the technology apart from the vat is much more advanced. So I don't see why that would rule out that there's something like that going on. It'd be like saying, well, our physics rules out things like that, just like that. But that's something that is shown in our experience. That's something that's being fed to us, not necessarily something that's true of the outer world.
Yeah, but Detroit, have you considered the fact that scientists have shown that, like, in fact, our mental states are critically influenced by our gut macrobiome or microbiome, right? So a brain in a vat wouldn't have access to the gut microbiome, so just not possible.
Okay, yeah.
That's right.
Let James respond.
So it just seems that we just disagree, and I just take them at the face value that they're saying that it doesn't seem possible. In the future, they're saying that it's not possible now, and that just seems to be the disagreement.
Well, that's right. If you were a brain in a vat, right, and these are the sensations that you've received, that you're hearing that people said these things, or you're reading reports of people saying these things, and maybe like the sort of world that's being fed to you, it seems to you that you're existing in. If that world were to be the case, like the actual, then that would be the correct description. But of course, if you're reading a map, then it's not correct, and it's not necessarily
Possible, but until you have some evidentiary explanation to the contrary of what your seemings have and what you entail with the world around you, why would that be something that I would consider like a possibility in this way?
Well, I think there's reasons to acknowledge it's a possibility. There's another question of whether you're like bother thinking about it or consider it as plausible or even take it as something that undermines your everyday knowledge.
Was the Graham Plattner thing maybe? Is it the right litmus test to